Hi, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. Today I would like to shed some lights on how to stop feeling not good enough, because I have done so much healing and so much work in this area. How to stop feeling not good enough. If I were to reflect on one of the biggest core struggle that I have been healing from my past few years, it's this internal feeling of not being good enough. It's this lack of self-worth. It's the self-criticism that's being really hard on myself, having high expectations on myself, comparing myself to others, just feeling smaller than others and not feeling that I'm good enough as others. And a lot of other issues stem from that internal insecurity. That's something that I have been working to heal for many years. Before I start on the tips, I just want to remind you to subscribe if you haven't already. Click on that bell down below so that you're notified of all my videos on personal growth and lifestyle designs. So let's begin. Sunday Reset with Reema by healing yourself. Tip number 1: to change your beliefs. You, for some reason, have been led to the belief that you're not good enough, and that's why you operate from that belief system that you're not good enough. That's kind of the first place you have to tackle. Let's change that belief, because a belief is not a fact. It's simply just a belief. It's just an opinion, right? It's not absolutely true that you're not good enough. It's just something that you were led or taught to believe that at some point in your life. So you can change that. The first place I like to start with changing your belief is changing your self-talk. A lot of insecurities and all these self-worth issues are entangled with the negative self-talk that happens in our head. The first step is to reflect and reset those negative things that you say to yourself. Okay, stop being so mean to yourself. Stop being your own worst critic. This is really the time to start giving yourself the positive compliments, positive self-talk, positive feedback. At first it's gonna feel like really uncomfortable. It's gonna feel really fake that you don't believe just yet, but you just have to push through that awkward phase, because on the other side you will eventually truly start to believe that those positive things, and you're going to operate from a more positive belief system. An exercise I have shared in the past is to write down all the negative things that you typically tell yourself in your mind. Keep on your notes on your phone, just a list. When a negative thoughts pop up, write it down. Go about your days, maybe a week, do this. Like jot down all the negative thoughts or self-negative talks that you notice pop up in your mind. So write it down so that you become at least aware of the things that you're constantly saying to yourself. And by the end of the week, you will have a page of your typically negative thoughts, and then you can start to cross over each one out and then replace it with a more positive thought. That's kind of the opposite of negative one. And then just try to repeat those positive thoughts to yourself every single day. Do it like positive affirmations to yourself in front of a mirror. Do this. The more you do this, the faster you will able to ingrain it into your belief system, because repetition is the key to shape your beliefs. Try doing this for 21 days, because that's enough to start building a habit. And by then you will have those affirmations memorized in your brain. The more you memorize it, the more you repeat it, that's when it really just melts into your subconsciousness, and it truly starts to become who you are and what you believe. Tip number 2: be the person that you want to be. This is about changing your attitude, recognizing that it's possible to change your attitude. All you have to do is decide to be that person, and then start to take actions and act like that person that you want to be. It's actually something that we have so much more control over than we think. You don't have to stay the same person forever. You don't have to be the victim to your mind and your insecurities. You can choose to be like, hey, I choose to be this confident person. Again, it's one of those, even if it might feel like fake or awkward at first, just be it, and then everything else will follow. Humans typically operate from thinking first, and then that leads to doing, and that leads to being. People typically think that in order to change, they have to move from thinking to doing and then being. Meaning, you have to think about changing and then you have to do those actions to make that change. And then you eventually become what you thought about. Although that is a kind of typical flow or what comes natural, what we naturally think happens. You want to, instead of flip into it like that. It's possible to start to be that person, and from that state of being, you then do, and then it becomes your thoughts. Essentially, you can choose to change your identity and operate from a different state of being, and from that state of being flows everything else, like the actions and the thoughts. And that is much more powerful, and I would say a faster way to make a change. To just be like, I'm just gonna be this person, and then everything else flows from there, instead of, oh, let me think about it first, let me see how to get there. An example of this would be choosing to be the main character of your story. I made that video about how to be the main character of your story. All it is an energy that you embody, that you are the main character. You have this confidence to do what you want and live your life, and you don't have to be shy because you are the main character. So that is an example of just choosing to be an identity, like changing your identity to be something else, and then everything else flows from there. Okay, so the tip number 3, to do some shadow work. Reflect deeply on where your self-worth and self-esteem issues stem from. This includes journaling, which is probably my favorite way to do this deep reflection, but you can also do it in the form of meditation, or it might happen as you go about life where things trigger you and you are reminded of that story in your head of why you don't feel good enough. But the kind of questions you want to be asking yourself are questions like, who or what taught me that I wasn't good enough? When did I start to believe this? Or who gave me this idea? When did I start to become a part of my belief system? When did I honestly believe that this was true? Why did I begin to believe that it was true? Maybe there was a spark that made you consider this idea in the first place, or like an event or something or someone said to you, and then maybe there were the chains of events where the beliefs was how someone kind of ingrained or hammered into you for some reason. Whether it's a toxic parent or life circumstances, there are so many different ways that this story can come from for each person. Each person is unique in their story, but this is a place where all of us have healing to do. All of us have trauma that we have to heal. I don't think there is any person in the world that is free of that. So healing is truly a lifelong journey. I believe you heal your wounds in cycles. You kind of come back to heal those wounds again and again, but this time you would be dealing that wound in a different form. In the beginning, the healing from these things, it's so painful. You are trying to like avoid it, and it makes you very uncomfortable. Like any mention of this person or the relationship just makes you want to break down and cry. And then each time you heal, it's kind of like you are breaking down the layers of that pain and those wounds. Even though I'm still working on my self-worth, I'm still healing, it's still a journey, but it feels lighter and lighter as you continue to heal. You will come back around and something will trigger you again, and you're like, oh my gosh, I still have to heal this aspect. Or like, is this something I didn't notice? So be gentle with yourself, be patient, it's a process. We are all going through this in our own way. That's why I always like not to judge other people. You never thought what someone else is going through or dealing with. So just be kind and compassionate to everyone, including yourself. Most importantly, yourself. This is essentially a shadow work. get to the core and then start to change those beliefs. It's a lot of what we are talking about today, but in an actionable format. Tip number 4, to make self love your number one priority. I honestly feel like most people, if not all people, should be putting self love as a number one priority, because everything else flows from there. If you give yourself love, you will be a loving person and give love to others. You have to fill your own cup first. So prioritize this relationship that you have with yourself. Nurture yourself, give yourself love. Make sure you take care of yourself love first and foremost. And just give yourself all the love, kindness, and compassion that you can. Because you can truly have a lot of self love, you won't be able to feel bad about yourself. Those two things cannot coexist, because when you're not feeling good enough and when you're self-criticizing and you're just being your own worst enemy, that's not self-love. It's like they cannot coexist. So instead of operating from a place of emptiness, like, oh gosh, I'm so small, I'm not good enough, just fill that cup until it's overflowing, so that you don't have room for any negative energy or any negative thoughts. Try asking yourself every single day, how can I love myself better? And then let that answers flow out. Okay, maybe I can give myself a little time for self-care today. Maybe I want to take myself out on a date, or maybe I want to buy flowers for myself or chocolates for myself. Just think of all the ways that you can love yourself better. How can you be a best friend for yourself and a better number one supporter, a better lover to yourself? So operate from a place where you prioritize self-love number one. You would just sit down and write things to yourself. How weird is that, right? Like, write a love letter. Tell yourself nice compliments. What do you like about yourself? Start with 10 things that you love about yourself, and for some that might be really hard, for others it might be easy. So do what works for you, but that's a fun place to start. It's literally like trying to be a lover and writing a love letter to yourself. 10 things you love about yourself to figure out what success means to you, fulfilling life means to you, learning about yourself. Tip number 5, to create distance from the things that makes you feel bad about yourself, aka boundaries. This could mean taking some time off social media if that's what making you feel bad about yourself. If you tend to compare yourself to others, what you see on Instagram or Facebook, instead of drawing the inspiration from them, then just stop it. The best thing to do is just get off and live your life in the present moment. Appreciate who you are and what you have here and now, instead of wanting all those things that you don't have and thinking other people's lives are better. Envy and jealousy is not the kind of energy you want to bring. You don't want to have the energy where you feel like other people are above you. You put others on pedestal and thus making yourself smaller, lower is not good enough. This is not the energy we want. So try to cut out that makes you feel that way. Another one is the toxic people in your life. I know everyone's circumstances are different. Like, if it's a family member or if it's a peers, just do your best to create the distance as much as you can. You want to have that protective boundary. You want that space where you cannot feel influenced or not feel pressure from those external forces, because they are not helping you feel better about yourself. So the more distance and space that you can create, the better, until you're able to give yourself enough love and healing. In the future, you might not need to create that much distance. It might be like, if this is someone close to you but you want to create the distance, know that it doesn't have to be forever. This can be temporary. You just want your space now. Work on yourself, feel good about yourself, and then maybe in the future you can be friends with that person again, or okay with your present relationship you're continuing it with now again. So tip number 6, to practice coming back to your true self. I am talking about the spiritual journey here. Do things that make you come back to your soul, make you come back to your the truest part of you. You can do meditation, you can go out into the nature, think about the things that brings you joy, where you feel alive, where you really feel good, just naturally flowing with life and enjoying life. Those are the things that bring you back to your true self. And the more you're able to have a practice of coming back to yourself and getting in touch with your soul, your spirit, the more at peace you will feel, the more joyful you will feel. And when you have those things, you recognize just how worthy you are, just how worthy and beautiful this life is, and you start to care less about those other little things that typically bothers you. You are worthy. You are worthy without doing anything. And that brings me to the last point that I want to make. Tip number 7, to remember that your worth is innate. You are so worthy. Nobody, nothing can take away your worthy. Simply by existing, simply by being alive, there's so much worth in that, right? Think of a baby. A baby is born, and all of those people around the baby love the baby like, oh my god, so cute, because the baby is just a beautiful thing. It doesn't have to do anything. It doesn't have to prove itself. It's already something that's so valuable, something so precious that people risk their lives to take care and protect. They are not being productive, but simply the fact that it is alive and it's a beautiful thing. So think of yourself in that way. Any living being is so worthy without even trying. Just simply by existing, you're already worthy. So why do you feel like you're not worthy? Why do you not feel like you're not worthy enough? Hope you can do those exercises to kind of release those limiting beliefs, those negative thoughts that you might be holding back. Because on the other side, recognize that you are a part of this wonderful thing called life and the universe and the nature. And there's so much worth in that. Alright, I hope you enjoyed hanging out with me today. I truly hope that you find yourself love and true self-acceptance, and that you recognize how worthy and how beautiful you really are. This video would definitely be the guidebook that you want to have a beautiful 2023, and to take those baby steps to get closer and closer towards your goal and your dream life. I will see you in the next one. Sending you so much love. Bye.